Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. Michael Valdsgaard was until recently the Senior Vice President of Digital Transformation at IKEA. He led the team that created the hugely successful IKEA Place app that allowed customers to see furniture in their own home before they actually bought anything through the magic of augmented reality. Now he's on a mission to change retail with AR. He just launched a new company called London Dynamics, and it's focused on helping retailers to reinvent the way that they interact with their customers through the use of AR. This is his very first media interview since launching London Dynamics, so this is a CX Files exclusive. Okay, let's go straight to the AR discussion with Michael Valdsgaard. Okay, Michael, thanks for being on the podcast. Now, I know that you were a Senior Vice President of Digital Transformation at IKEA at a very interesting time for the company. So could you just tell me about some of the biggest changes in the way that this very well-known retail brand started interacting more deeply with customers at the time that you were there?
Yeah, so you can say I spent 20 years at IKEA in the last 10 years as running the digital innovation as with that responsibility. And the biggest change was basically the 6 decades prior to that, IKEA have grown and only been busy with a store and a catalog. And the last decade I was there, it was the big change of consumers getting in control, not having companies in control, and having multiple touch points rather than just a store and a catalog.
Mm-hmm. So really the whole wave of online shopping just came very suddenly.
Yeah, exactly. And you can say IKEA is hard to step into online shopping. It's easier to send a pair of jeans from a high street store than to send a PAX wardrobe in the mail. So to wrap the head around how to tackle this took quite a while.
Well, I know that one of the very interesting solutions that you came up with was the IKEA Place app. And this was something I was interested in. A couple of years ago, I remember everybody talked about augmented reality, and we all saw the Pokemon Go game taking off and becoming popular. But nobody could really find a way to use augmented reality for business. And then IKEA came up with this app where you could place furniture in your home and look and see how it would fit and what it would look like. I mean, how did you conceptualize doing this, and how did you bring that to the market?
Yeah, so you could say, so I was doing innovation within IKEA for many years, and I had, I would say, like 5 years of absolute failures. Everything I came up with, from cool things, indoor navigation and 3D printing chairs, etc. Nothing worked because the IKEA was not interested in it. And then all of a sudden there was this technology that arrived at a place of the sweet spot of IKEA. So IKEA always wished to enter people's home and have done so with the catalog for many years and with a website. And all of a sudden we could give the customer the possibility to actually try out furniture in their own home without purchasing them. So I think it was a nice sweet spot for IKEA to go into. So I got the full carte blanche, and we spent very limited time actually. So Apple released this new technology, and we got access to it a little bit before other people, and worked together with Apple, and basically knocked it out of the park. So that was like the first success in many years within my job there, and it was an overnight success on a global level, you can say. And yeah, it's kind of like when the use case meets the technology, that's when things start working.
Yeah, absolutely, because that was a technology that everybody was talking about, but nobody could really find like a business case for it.
Yes. And the thing is about these technologies, right? So it's like they are going through exponential change. And us as humans, we have a hard time understanding the exponential change because it just keeps doubling. And in the beginning, we tend to underestimate the technology, and we think it's going to solve a lot of things, which it doesn't do in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, the exponential growth really kicks in, and then it just changes the world overnight. And I truly believe that there's a few technologies out there that are on the breaking point, artificial intelligence being one of them for sure. Internet of Things with 5G and also augmented reality. Those technologies are just on the breaking point to change how we live, how we make money, how we interact with companies, how we interact with each other. And so it's exciting to be part of that in the beginning of it.
Yeah, and of course your new company, London Dynamics, you're focusing on augmented reality and customer experience. Are you retaining this focus on retail, or do you think that AR can be used by many different brands and industries?
AR can be used by many different brands and industry, but our focus is absolutely on retail. And the reason why we focus on it right now is that if you look a little bit back in AR history, you used to be having to have put on a full headset, and you had to calibrate, and then you could start placing digital objects in the real world. And then Apple came out with the AR kit, and we could do that with a mobile phone using an app. And now, since the last 6 to 8 months, you can do this straight from a web browser. So our uniqueness is we're going to serve customers AR experience straight from the website. So rather than people sitting and looking only at text and pictures and videos when they're purchasing a product, you can throw it straight into your living room. And if you're shopping for a suitcase, for example, that's a very appealing use case. You don't have to leave the website. You stay on where you are, and you can basically view your product right in front of you and inspect it. So I think the emotional connection with the brand and with those products increases quite a bit, and it gives a dimension in e-commerce that we haven't had ever before.
Yeah, that's interesting. Here in Brazil, there's a popular brand of beer, and if I hold my phone in front of the beer can, then the can comes to life, and all the characters come flying off the can, and so that's fun, but it's not really an essential part of the purchase.
Exactly.
And clearly with IKEA, you had something that was fun, but also could really influence the purchase. So how do you imagine AR will be influencing retail purchases? I mean, what can AR do? How can you build on the IKEA experience?
Yeah, so you can say, like, right now I'm based in London. If I look at London and retail, UK and retail, it's the most advanced market, but it's bleeding on the high street, right? So the old model of going to shop is changing, and the online penetration is incredibly high. So you're above 20% of purchases, close to 25% in UK is done online. So I think there's two things that have to happen in retail. One is that we have to reinvent retail how it used to be on the high street and in the shopping malls. And on the other hand, we have to enhance the online experience to become even more. And so I think the focus for me now is to enable that online experience to grow. And we can do that because the technology is there. So I think 2020 is going to be the year where you're going to see mainstream, regular people stepping into AR, because right now it's still young people and it's the fun apps and all those things. And I think 2020 is going to be the year where people in general is going to start using this to shop and have it as a real purchase decision.
But do you mean improving the in-store experience, so more often having an AR experience inside the stores?
No, I mean, like, simply just to grow the online, because e-commerce is so big already, right? And it's going to grow. And of course, it's not like the retail stores are going to disappear, but they have to repurpose themselves and become much more experiential in order to survive in the long run. And then at the same time, we need to stimulate online shopping even more, because there are limitations in online shopping, as you know. And those limitations are fading away. So I think that's going to be the big change this year, is that people in general who never used AR before and who don't know they have an AR-capable phone will start using these experiences to take purchase decisions.
Mm-hmm. So definitely I mean, is it going to move on from the phones, though? Do you think that we're going to be moving from the phone environment to wearables? Because you remember when Google Glass came out, and that didn't really go down very well with consumers.
No, I think Google Glass was just like way too premature, and it was on people's on the street like way too fast. But the technology is extremely appealing. So if you imagine like a superhuman, that we can all become superhuman by looking, getting all digital content in the real world. That's kind of like the use case of the Google Glasses. And yeah, I've been to CES many times in Vegas, and I was every year I was disappointed that everybody was still focusing on the phone. But I will almost guarantee you, even though nobody can see into the future, that within 10 years nobody has a phone no more. Like everything will go through either lenses or glasses or some sort of optical way of displaying things to the human eye that we haven't even figured out today. But for sure, it will go away from the phone. And when we are at that stage, there's all kind of use cases like, the colors on your wall at home doesn't matter no more, because you will see the color that your artificial intelligence want you to see depending on your mood that day. So all those things are going to start melting, and this is just like the first step into that.
Yeah, and so I guess retail is very. It's like the canary in the coal mine, really. It's like the first step, the first place we can see this really working is helping customers to make a purchase.
Yeah, I think if you look a little bit like that, that's where things happen fast, right? Out on the high streets and in apparel and in retail and fashion in general. That's kind of like where changes happen the first. Absolutely. But I also think that you will go away from all these gimmicks into real use cases, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in London Dynamics, is to make real use cases. I only want to do things in our company that can actually change people's way of buying, and that can give them a real tool and not a gimmick. It has to be that people feel like this is adding real value to my life, and then I think the change is going to kind of like explode from there.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the problems that we've seen with AR generally is, like I mentioned about the beer can. There's a lot of gimmicks out there. There's a lot of stuff that's fun for a couple of minutes, but it doesn't change a purchasing decision. So is that one of the big changes that you foresee in the next couple of years then?
Yeah, so this is exactly because we're getting so close that we can do things that you have a hard time. If I take, we made a Remover suitcase, for example. And I went to the Remover store with my phone, and I placed it next to the real suitcase, and I took a picture, and I sent it back to the guys, and they had a hard time seeing which one was real. So when we can do those things at such a high quality level that it's like photorealistic and right in front of you, then you can start getting the confidence of making real purchase decisions, and then you will start using it as a tool, and you'll want to have it, just like you're looking at a video today, right? And it gives you kind of a pretty good impression of the product or the brand. You're going to have that in AR, and the technology has developed far enough that we can do this at a very high quality level already today.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, then if you were saying what's coming next in the near term, so what as industry observers or even customers, what should we expect in 2020 then?
Yeah, I think 2020 is just basically where you're going to be. Augmented shopping is going to become a reality, and I think you're going to see the market is going to be completely flooded. Gartner, they expect 100 million to shop in AR by 2020, and then I don't think the glasses are going to come in 2020. I don't think we're going to move away from the phone. So you're just going to, we might see the first applications of some 5G coming in where you can do even better experience in AR. But I think it's going to take, it's still a hard process, right? And it's going to take maybe half a decade or a decade before it really completely shifts.
So by 2025, we may have moved away slightly from the phones and actually be getting a real photorealistic experience.
I think, and if you say 2025, I think that would be a very comfortable spot to say that there would definitely be hardware out there that can give you a superhero experience in the real world, projecting artificial intelligence, because then 5G is there. Artificial intelligence have had another 5 years to exponentially grow. we might have quantum computing, we might have another few elements sitting in the background firing up these experiences. So I think we're just before everything happens, to be quite frank.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please take a moment to review the podcast because this helps other listeners to find it. And if you have any suggestions, then get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm at Mark Hillary with 2 L's, or just search Google for Mark Hillary.